Have you ever felt a strange voice inside you, right before making an important decision? A silent whisper that says, "Stop, don't do it." That's exactly what guided Socrates his whole life. In the heart of ancient philosophy, there's a mysterious concept that still fascinates modern thinkers: the Daimonion. Socrates claimed he had a divine inner voice, a spiritual signal, that never told him what to do, only warned him what not to do. He didn't call it instinct. He didn't call it conscience. He called it a divine sign, something from God. This was not a metaphor. Socrates believed this voice came from a higher power, a divine force guiding his soul, and he trusted it more than any human advice, even when that trust led him to death. "This inner voice has been with me since childhood," he once said. "It turns me away from certain actions, even if they seem right to others." Some interpret the daimonion as intuition, others see it as spiritual conscience. But for Socrates, it was sacred. It gave him freedom from external control, because he followed something higher than public opinion or state power. Even in his final moments, when the Athenian court sentenced him to death, Socrates said, "The sign never tried to stop me." And so, he accepted his fate, believing that this silence from the divine meant he was on the right path. So, was it just a psychological phenomenon? A voice of reason? Or was it really God speaking? This inner voice, the daimonion, was not something Socrates questioned. He didn't try to explain it away through logic. Instead, he surrendered to it. In a world full of political corruption, shifting opinions, and moral confusion, he chose to listen to something deeper. And that's why Socrates became dangerous, not because he was a rebel, but because he was free. "I obey the God rather than men," he told the court. Imagine this. You're in ancient Athens. Everyone around you obeys the law, follows the crowd, plays the political game. But there's one man who listens to a voice that no one else can hear. A man who refuses to lie, cheat, or flatter, because his soul says no. That's not just philosophy. That's spiritual rebellion. That's inner freedom. And in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with noise, distractions, and external pressures, Socrates' daimonion reminds us of something timeless. That truth doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it whispers from within. So what was that voice? A guardian angel? A moral compass? A divine spark? Modern psychology might call it intuition or conscience. Neuroscience might search for it in the prefrontal cortex. But for Socrates, it was simple. It was a divine presence, a spiritual guide given to every human being. He wasn't trying to prove God. He was just listening. And maybe that's the lesson here. Not to explain everything, but to listen more carefully to that quiet, sacred warning inside us. Because in a world that tells you to chase more, shout louder, and move faster, maybe the wisest thing you can do is to stop and ask, is this what my soul really wants? And here's what makes it even more mysterious. Socrates never claimed to understand this voice. He never said, "I know why it comes," or "I know who sends it." He simply said, "It is there, and I trust it." Let that sink in for a moment. A man known as the father of Western philosophy, a man who questioned everything and everyone, chose not to question the voice inside. Why? Because some truths are not meant to be dissected. They're meant to be honored. They're meant to be followed. And maybe that's why Socrates was so dangerous. Not because he corrupted the youth, but because he reminded people that truth could come from a place outside the system, from within. "The unexamined life is not worth living," he said. But he wasn't just talking about logic or debate. He meant something deeper, examining your soul, listening to it, trusting it. This is why Socrates never feared death. He believed that if his daimonion was silent, even in the face of execution, then death must not be a bad thing. That kind of inner peace, that kind of confidence, doesn't come from popularity, wealth, or social approval. It comes from spiritual alignment. And in today's world, where we're pulled in 1,000 directions, where social media screams louder than our own thoughts. The question is not, do we have a voice like Socrates? The question is, are we still listening to it? Maybe that's the modern version of wisdom, not just having knowledge, but having the courage to trust your inner warning, even when everyone else is telling you the opposite. Today we use different words: gut feeling, intuition, conscience, the inner compass. But the experience is often the same. You feel something, you know something, without being able to explain why. It's not logic, it's not emotion, it's something deeper. A kind of inner knowing that defies reasoning, and when we ignore it, we usually regret it. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I should have listened to my gut," or "something just didn't feel right"? That's not superstition. That's the modern echo of Socrates' Daimonion. Call it biology, call it energy, call it divine. What matters is not what you call it. What matters is that you recognize it. Because in a world full of external noise, clickbait, marketing, outrage, fear, our inner voice gets drowned out, and yet, it's still there. Software patient, unchanging, just like it was for Socrates, waiting to be heard. Maybe the question isn't, did Socrates hear God? Maybe the question is, are we willing to go as far inward as he did, to find out? There's a reason why Socrates still speaks to us 2,400 years later. It's not just because he was brilliant, it's because he dared to trust something invisible. He dared to trust a voice only he could hear, when the whole world was screaming the opposite. Today, most of us are trained to distrust anything we can't explain. We want proof, data, measurement. But some of the most important truths in life don't come with evidence. They come with inner certainty. And that's where Socrates was radical. He didn't wait for consensus. He didn't ask for validation. He simply said, "This voice has guided me all my life, and it has never lied to me." That kind of trust can't be faked. It's not a belief, it's a way of being. A kind of spiritual clarity that doesn't shout, it whispers. So maybe the real legacy of Socrates isn't just in what he taught, it's in what he listened to. Now maybe it's your turn, not to follow Socrates, but to follow your own daimonion, your own quiet, sacred voice that says, "This path is yours, even if no one else can see it." If this idea resonated with you, subscribe for more deep dives into ancient wisdom and modern soul searching, and leave a comment. Have you ever experienced a moment where your inner voice guided you even when it made no sense? Because in the end, what if your soul has been speaking to you all along, and today is the day you finally decide to listen?